So Dan and Trish asked me to come tonight to talk about the new Cub Scout program that goes into effect and implementation at the start of June. The intention is sort of at the end of the school year, once Scouts finish their current rank, that for the new rank for next school year, they transition into this new program. I want to mention I take no credit or blame for whether you like it or not. This is the program, and I've been able to sort of see some of these things and get a little bit more depth than probably has been publicized. There is a Cub program update website. If you just Google Cub program updates, you'll get to something. There's lots of different topics on there. We have in the room a bunch of handbooks. I don't know if you want to pass those to the folks that haven't seen them yet. I'm not going to talk too much about the handbooks, but for people to glance at, they are here. So we will jump right in. Feel free to interrupt and ask any questions you have, and I'll either answer or I'll tell you I'm going to talk about them as we go along, and then we can have questions at the end as well. There are significant changes is what I would describe about this. It's very significant in some areas and less significant in others. And my toolbar hasn't gone away. I have no idea how to do that, but I'm going to move ahead. Apparently I'm not. Oh, look at that, it went away. So first off, the program redesign was done with feedback. So the National Cub Scout Committee, which is made up of volunteers, along with the National Cub Scout Director, who's a staff member, they have, over the past several years, sent out surveys. They had a pretty good sampling return of surveys, and then as they were developing the program, they sent those out as well for feedback on how those new adventures would look, et cetera. The main goals were, number one, to make sure that the program is fun. As we all know, fun is at the heart of what we need to be doing for everyone. The second is simple, hopefully simple to understand, simple to deliver, simple to plan for, et cetera, and then easy. We as an organization, we see that a lot of people get overwhelmed by the lots and lots of pages of sort of curriculum plans, and so making it easy to deliver, those are the keys in terms of how this was developed. So there are four really big areas that we're going to talk a little bit about. One is the Bobcat is no longer a rank. The Bobcat is now an adventure at all grade levels. And so one of the issues was there was one set of requirements across all grades, which were not age appropriate consistently across kindergarten to fifth grade, depending on when a scout joined. So that's one of the reasons why the Bobcat is no longer a rank. The other is like if a kid leaves and comes back, like did they do the Bobcat again? Is it a rank? Is it an award? And whatever it is, there's a lot of consternation around that. So we'll talk more about the Bobcat in a moment. The other is the adventures. There was a lot of confusion about, kind of depending on what rank you were at, how many adventures were required, how many optionals were available. They were kind of disjointed topics across the grade levels. Again, some grade levels needed more or less required and optional ones. And there was a desire to have a lot more electives in place as well. The third and very big change is that the Webelos, and I will say what we used to refer to as Webelos 1, Webelos 2, et cetera, that is a huge change, and we'll get into the details of that. And then the last thing is the awards. So Cub Scouts has had lots of what I would call associated awards. Those have been abandoned entirely. The majority of them are now rolled into some adventures at different places. So that's the Shooting Sports Awards, the STEM Nova stuff, the Outdoor Award, several of those things, those are in the adventures. So those are kind of four major change areas in there. So let's talk about requirements. So now at every grade, there are 6 required and 2 electives to earn the rank. That is consistent across the board, that all of them have 6 required and 2 electives. The other thing that is consistent is that the requireds are themed the same and follow the BSA's aims. So you'll see that the Bobcat, which is at all levels, is character and leadership focused. The outdoors theme goes across all grades. The personal fitness, the citizenship, personal safety, and family and reverence. Those are the 6 required adventures at all grades, and then different names, different requirements, and then the 2 electives that are needed.
And how many electives are there to choose from?
Good question, sir. I'm gonna actually show you a grid that has all that. There's a lot.
I knew it was coming.
So you have, again, 6 required, 2 electives at every grade level, period. You'll also notice that the grade level is listed because we want to be clear programmatically that this program at every grade is for that grade. So Arrow of Light, which we'll talk about later, there's no finishing Weeblos and starting Arrow of Light. Arrow of Light is 5th grade. I want to also point out that all the grades start when the other grade finishes. And with that in mind, Lion does not exist until kindergarten begins. There's no summer Lion. If you were a Lion Scout, when summer hits, you are a Tiger Cub. And if you are becoming a Lion Scout, that starts when the school year starts. So there's no Lions at day camp. There's no Lions at KBRM. Lion program starts with school. So, what?
I disagree.
You can disagree all you want, but it does. All right, so Bobcat. Bobcat is intended to be the first adventure that is completed by the Den at the start of the school year. So again, there might be summer adventures if you're doing day camp or summer camp where you do some other elective adventures. But when the school year starts, when the Den and the Pack are back together, Bobcat is intended to be the first adventure that's completed, once the Pack and the Den restart at the start of the school year.
So question about that?
Mm-hmm.
In our area, at least, recruitment doesn't generally happen until the end of September, beginning of October is when we get our influx of new scouts. Do you recommend that packs hold off on earning Bobcat until then? And otherwise, we'll just be going over this thing.
So I have a really long answer and a short answer. The short answer is we should really think about moving up our recruitment so that packs can start right after the school year starts. That's really what we should do. In general though, yeah, you want to have your sort of what you think is kind of your group of scouts before you do that, yeah. But I would say we should push those things, and that's another topic for another meeting. But yeah, you don't want to do it 6 times. So when you have your core group of scouts is the good time to do Bobcat. So all right, let's talk about required adventures. Bobcat, again, these are all grades with the same themes. So character and leadership is Bobcat, which is an adventure, not a rank. And so one of the things is that the required adventures all have individual grade requirements, okay? So Bobcat, although it's at every rank, and here's just simply the 3 of the grades, and the requirements sort of move along with the age and development of the kids. So the Lion is a much more basic concept than the Bear and then the Arrow of Light. The other thing I want to mention, which I'll get into a little more depth about, is the Arrow of Light Bobcat is where some of what you remember to be scouting adventure requirements are that have to do with engaging with troops. So that is a much earlier in the year process than it previously would have been. And we'll talk a little more in depth about that as we go along. So the outdoor adventure across all grade levels, I should have mentioned also, all of the required adventures have the potential to have sort of common activity for, let's say you've got 1 second grader and 3 third graders, et cetera. The requirements aren't exact, but there's enough that you could do an activity cross grade, cross den to kind of work on that, with the exception of 5th grade Arrow of Light, which is pretty distinctly different. So the outdoor adventure at all grade levels, and you can see the names there. There's something related to walking or hiking in the neighborhood or somewhere that's sort of common across all the ages there, as well as talking about the Cub Scout 6 essentials. That's sort of common across all of those. So that was sort of the goal, was let's look at the required adventures and think about for places that have multi-age dens or not enough scouts for a den, that you're able to kind of knock out the core of the required adventures together, even if there's different grade levels. So like, here's what this looks like for the outdoor required adventure. So you can see it starts with the line with take a walk outside 20 minutes, tiger, take a walk outside 20 minutes, and then it kind of increases to longer walk, describing animals. So you can kind of blend those together if you needed to with cross-age dens. Personal fitness, same thing. There's personal fitness at every rink. There's some common activities about being active, about healthy eating and hygiene. Likewise, citizenship, common activities of a service project across all grade levels for that required adventure. Likewise, personal safety, the protect yourself rules, definitely something that should be talked about each year. And this one obviously is intended to be a lot of family engagement, for the protect yourself part of the rules. Family and reverence. So this is one that the BSA had a lot of feedback on and really tried to design this to be a family activity, to really let families take the lead on what that looks like with them in their beliefs and their faith. So that's really designed to be an at-home one. And if you look at the books, you'll see, and there's some of the specifics of that. So those are the required adventures. So then the other thing was related to things like the Conservation Award, the NOVAs, et cetera, et cetera. So the BSA basically found that when you look at like the attachment rate means like what's being recorded in Scout Book, what's being recorded in Internet Advancement. There are some people that love the awards and they are 110% in, but they are rare. They're not the common pack or the common den that is doing those awards. But people who do the NOVA Awards believe that everyone does the NOVA Awards. Unfortunately, they're just not correct about that. It's really pretty rare across the BSA. All right, so the other thing when they looked at these adventures was to take the things that are most popular and look for opportunities to make those adventures at all grades. So, for example, Pinewood Derby is an optional, an elective adventure at all grades. Fishing, an elective adventure at all grades. And you'll see the italics on the chart were, I think, the existing adventures. So you see they've really expanded upon that because those are the things that are most popular. So aquatics, big one. You got the opportunity to do those things, whether, take the den to the pool or when they are going to summer camp or whatever it is, there's opportunities for those across the grade levels. So that was kind of a big thing, was to look at the most popular activities and make sure there's adventures that relate to those at all grade levels. Likewise, the STEM NOVA, they didn't cancel it out. They rolled that into adventures at all grade levels. Again, the italics were existing sort of in the science, technology, engineering, math world, and the bold print are, or maybe I'm the other way around. Am I the other way around in this one?
No, you're not.
All right, okay. It's the coding one that always throws me off. So basically the goal was to have those STEM elements rolled into the adventures as opposed to separate awards, with the hope that that causes them to be more accessible to people than some of the NOVA awards and things like that. All right, so there's your elective sheet. So there's like 17-ish per grade level. You'll see that Kindergarten Lions has less because there's not a summer program. You'll see that Arrow of Light has less because the intention is that that program wraps up in the late winter, early spring. But first, second, third, and fourth full year, including the summer, you've got the full list there. I have for 6 months been trying to wrap my head around the different color tones in each column. And other than the darkest color tone is clearly shooting sports, which has to be done at district and council events. I cannot wrap my brain around what the color tones are. I don't know if they're existing and new. I can't figure it out. So I'm interested for someone to tell me what that means, but anyways, there are a lot of adventures at all the grade levels. You'll see a lot of common things in there, the swimming, etc.
The middle tone is all the new ones.
Pardon?
The middle tone.
The middle is the new?
It's all the
So
new
the top is existing, the middle is new, and then the
Yes.
bottom is the district council event shooting sports?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's really bothered me for a
You're
long
welcome.
time.
I got you. Also, when are we going to allow Lions to do archery and slingshot? Because the only opportunity the rest of the Cubs have to do that is day camp.
So a lot of districts and councils do like an adventure day after recruitment, that sort of thing. That's not uncommon, so.
Like what we did last year.
Yeah, which it's something that, you know, I think, I forget which district it is, but I think one of our districts sets up the range for the day, and each age group of kids plans a time that they can come and go shooting throughout the day. So it's one of those, it's not a day camp, it's not that, it's like an hour and a half.
But it's, I mean, it is like a day camp, it's the same sort of thing.
Is that
But-
something that we're looking at doing?
I mean, it depends on, I guess, demand, but I think shooting is always something that people wanna do more of, so.
The boat that Dan had set up?
So,
I'm
pop quiz on the bear list, we already talked about the required adventures, which are, you know, aligned with the BSA, aims, the citizenship, the physical fitness, the family reverence. What was a bear, required adventure that isn't? What's always a part of bear? What is introduced at the bear level in scouting? Knives, yes. So this is a big change. Whittling chip is being abandoned.
Okay.
And knives are still introduced at 3rd grade. It is an elective adventure, whittling. Scouts should have that adventure completed to use their knife. That's that. And at 4th grade, there is a knife adventure. Scouts should have that adventure at 4th grade to use their knife.
So if they
And at
finish,
5th grade-
sorry, if they finish the whittling in 3rd grade, does that carry over to 4th grade?
Every year, they should do the knife one if they're going to use their knives.
So how does that affect camp? If they don't go camping with their den leader and they go camping with their parent can just be like, nope, yeah, they can do their knives.
Yeah, that's totally up to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are related knife adventures at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade that are different. Knives is still introduced at 3rd grade. I haven't looked at the specific requirements for it though. But the intention is that they should earn that adventure if they're going to be using their knife in 3rd grade. So,
I have a
Yes.
question.
yes.
So with the knife adventure, do we give them that little whittling chip card every year? For doing the knife
Good.
adventures?
Good question, Jen. There will be no whittle and chip card.
Okay.
Is there any way for them to?
A belt loop,
A belt loop.
whoopie-woo.
You can do it however you
Wear
want.
belt
I mean, you
loops.
can do as a pack, whatever you want. I mean, in my own troop, we hardly actually use coat and chip cards, you know, like. We just didn't really use them.
Yeah.
We did the knife safety requirements that start in Scout, kind of, whichever it is.
It was one of my
Um,
kids' favorite things. Look, what I did.
But we, I mean, just in my own troop, we didn't do that because the knife safety, even at the Scout level, when you think about it, has changed to complete all of it, starting with safe handling and then moving into the more complex parts of the knife. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to earn a totem chip to use your knife, so.
Which, I mean, at the unit level, you could even decide how you wanna do it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you wanna
Yeah.
give something out to the kids that says, hey, you earned this,
You
and,
could.
or even if you just wanna take a note on a piece of paper, just so that you as adults know, like that's.
Oh no, you gotta laminate it. They gotta be special. It's gotta be pretty.
All right, let's talk about 5th grade. So big distinction in that 4th and 5th grade are 2 separate programs. Weeblos is 4th grade, Arrow of Light is 5th grade. 2 separate programs, 2 separate handbooks. There is no carryover between the 2 regarding adventures and elective adventures that happens. They are separate. So that is a big thing. Weeblos, 4th grade, has no required engagement with Scouts BSA troops. That is all part of the 5th grade Arrow of Light program. So 4th grade is its own program, 5th grade Arrow of Light is its own program. So I personally have been trying to be very intentional about saying Weeblos and Arrow of Light. Like if you look at the camp registrations, they all say Weeblos/AOL or Weeblos/Arrow of Light. When it gets on Facebook, I make sure it says Weeblos, Arrow of Light, not just Weeblos. To start with that distinction that it's two programs. So let's talk a little bit about that. First off, the handbooks, which are here. The Arrow of Light handbook has Scouts BSA content for the Scout badge. And the intention is that when Scouts cross over at the end of their AOL time, that they can have that as a starter. If they don't have a handbook yet, whatever it is, that they can do that. But of course, they need to be a Scout in order to work on Scout requirements, but they have that book at least as a transitional. Plus also they like to read ahead and see that stuff anyway. So 2 separate books, 2 separate sets of requirements, 2 separate ranks between the 2. I mentioned the Bobcat at Arrow of Light has some of that troop engagement. So again, for pack leaders, for troop leaders, this is something that we'll need to be thinking about. But the 3 that are highlighted, I believe some reference of, or some form of them was in the Scouting Adventure, Is that what it's called, Scouting Adventure? Okay. So you'll see that's blended in there a bit. It's also blended in elsewhere in some way as well. But that's just something for everyone to be aware of, that is a thing. So they, Cub Scouts actually worked with, the Boy Scout committee on this to make sure that they could put some of that content into there. The requirements between Arrow of Light and Scout Rank are no longer duplicated. They are similar. If I go back, there are some similarities, reciting the oath and law, etc. But as you and I were talking about, when they do that, they're ready to do the next one. They've already practiced it and done it. But all the Scouts BSA advancement has to happen in Scouts BSA. And the third bullet hook here, which is the most relevant, is the intention is that Arrow of Light Scouts cross over in late winter, early spring. That is the intention. And so the 6 required adventures, the 2 electives, particularly if you have summer program, going into 5th grade, should be easy peasy.
Do they still have the time requirement for Arrow Light? 3 months, 6 months?
I assume all that's gonna be revised to match the grade level information that we're talking about, yeah. But I don't think that, I don't know, I haven't looked at it in depth to see that. All right, another big change is uniforming, and I wanna start by saying that there are no uniform police in the BSA. And no one should say, oh, great, I just got my, kid a tan uniform for 4th grade, Weeblos, now it says he has to wear blue. It doesn't matter, it's fine, it's okay. So a kid has khaki or a 5th grader still has a blue and they haven't transitioned over it, there are no uniform police. No one is coming to arrest your 4th or 5th graders for being in the wrong color shirt. This is where we wanna move organizationally, is that the 4th graders you'll see have the Weeblo hat, the Weeblo neckerchief. And the 5th graders have a Scouts BSA style uniform. Whether they wear a neckerchief is up to their AOL patrol or den, whatever you want to call it, for them to decide what they're doing, whether they're doing a neckerchief or not. So
I'm sorry,
it's
I didn't mean to
okay.
laugh at you.
What's that?
I said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you.
That's
My
okay.
experience is different.
About uniform police?
Yes.
Send them to me, I will deal with them. The uniform, I like to remind people, just like advancement is a method of scouting, is not the aim of scouting. And so it's not the end of the world. And there's a big patch drama as well. So this is one of my other funny things to talk about. So the lion patch, just like the rest, will be diamond shaped. So it fits on the uniform. And then what is the big question that people always have about their rank patches?
Where do they go?
Right, if I wasn't a lion and I was a tiger, do I put the tiger one to the side, or does it go to the right side, left, right, like all that? Like, oh, if I joined in bears and I don't have the other ones, does the bear go at the bottom? Well, really simple. Whatever they earn first goes on top. And then apparently there's a big argument about clockwise or counterclockwise. But if they join when they're a lion, then lion goes on the top. If they join when they're a bear, then bear goes on the top. It's okay. There are no patch police coming to arrest some poor mother who sewed on the patches wrong.
And Weeblos is still gonna be the oval.
For their, when they earn it to put on for 5th grade? Yeah.
Which is when they'll switch to the tan uniform.
Right, yeah, makes sense.
There's not a time frame that I can find.
Oh,
At
yeah,
least not in the Arrow Blood, I haven't gone through the Weeblos one.
well, the Arrow Blight one is the one I was worried about.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about, 10 leaders, parents, things like that, doing the program. So the first and really big thing is that the only handbooks that have like any sort of Zen leader resource printed are the kindergarten and first grade Lion and Tiger books have they're bundled with a parent partner book as well. Wolf Bear, Webelos, and Arrow of Light do not have Den leader guides. All of the resources are QR coded to every adventure. So when you look at an adventure, you'll see a QR code. When you go to that QR code, it's gonna have the activities and other information that are needed to plan it, and I wanna talk a little about
They're not
those.
live yet, if
Right
that's
now.
what you're going.
No,
I'll get to that in a second. The other thing I wanted to mention is that
They all ended up over here.
the committee that worked on this worked to simplify the requirements, and here's an example. This is what Code of the Wolf looks like right now. So without counting, how many actual things do you have to do for that? Don't count. How many actual requirements out of that whole list do you have to do? Don't.
13.
2, 3, 4, you have to do 5 lines of that entire thing. So the feedback was a lot of people, especially new Cub parents, Cub Den leaders, look at this, and they go, oh, we're just not gonna do that adventure, we'll look at another one instead. It's just like, holy cow, there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of do one of these, do 2 of the following, do 1 of this and 3 of A and B and whatever. And the intention was to bring that way down to make it simple to deliver and then provide resources that can help you with the delivery of it. So this is current Code of the Wolf, this is new Code of the Wolf, and the text might not exactly be that because I wrote this several months ago. It really is the same thing, but it's just simplified. It's just in a simpler presentation that's there. So, this will go live, probably closer to June 1st. And so you can access it with the QR codes, or you'll be able to access it on scouting.org under the Cub information. And so basically for every adventure, there's, suggested activities and such that go with the adventure. So when you scan one of those QR codes, or when you go to the website, you pick your adventure, and then basically every adventure page, and this one's just a sample, so there's false text in there. It's gonna have a little description of the adventure. It's gonna have a relevant safety moment that can be used. It has the requirements, and then it's gonna have a few choices of activities. These will tell you, is this good indoors or outdoors? What's sort of the energy level of that activity? How much setup time is needed? How many, sort of like, think about like a Pokemon card with the scores on it. So it's just kind of like, okay, I need something that's indoors. I need something that's for kids sitting down, whatever it might be, versus I've got a large space and they can be running around, etc.
Are these accessible without doing the QR code?
So they'll be on the scouting website, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So you can go to the scouting, not now, but once
Well,
it's
I'm just
live.
thinking a searchable thing, okay, I want something that's indoors, do I need to go through every adventure to see whether it's indoors? I need something.
I think the
that-
intention is that you start by identifying what adventure you wanna do, and then kind of look at which activities are gonna fit your space and size.
So further feedback to your friends that you've been talking to, maybe make it possible to
Yes,
select, hey, I need
because
something indoor because it's gonna
sometimes
rain
that's
tonight
how
and
we
I didn't
plan
plan
stuff.
that. What can I do and switch to really quick?
Right, or something filter at the last minute, what's something that takes, 5 minutes at a
Yes.
time, yes.
I won't promise anything because that's a lot of back end that I'm not sure the BSA has the capacity for right now. So, but anyways, I think the intention of the arrangement is you say, this is the adventure we're doing, and then you look and see what activities fit for your space and such. And I think the intention is to have varied activities depending on the adventure that kind of fit those, so you could say do this or whatever. So here's kind of a closer up of that. So basically identifying okay, this is the location I have, this is the energy level that it has, this is sort of the complexity of supplies, this is the complexity of prep time that's needed to do that. So if I go back here, there's 3 choices for this one requirement out of the 5 or whatever it is. So that's the intention on what those are gonna look like. And then when you say, okay, then we're gonna do the Den flag one, it's gonna kind of tell you, here are the supplies you need, here's how you do this activity, et cetera. What?
den flag here can go a larger title for the
I told you this was a sample that was from a long time ago. Yes. This is the sample because it's not live yet. There's also some, video resources related to it, so if it's a first aid skill or something, it'll be a video and that sort of thing. That's kind of the intention of what you'll see when you go into these adventure informations. I guess I got to the end. I feel like I skipped my entire Weeblo thing, but I didn't. We talked about people list. Okay, what did I not answer? Not what do you want to debate about, because I didn't write the program, but what did I not answer?
Will all the materials, like the books and stuff, be available fairly soon, or?
Books are available now, in the Scout Shop. The QR codes are not live yet. They've got them sort of deactivated and they'll be live, I assume, closer to the June 1st start date.
Okay.
And the den leader stuff's printable, I'm assuming.
Pardon?
The den leader stuff will be printable.
The stuff that we were just looking at?
Yeah.
Well, it's web-based, so in whatever format it is there. I don't know if it'll be like PDF-based or what, that part I don't know.
Did you talk about the fact that the scout handbook is actually in the Arrow of Light?
Part of the Scout handbook is,
Yeah, everything needed
We
for
did.
the scout rank is.
We did
in
talk about
the arrow of light.
Well, you
So-
guys showed me, but I don't think we talked about it.
We did.
It mentioned it briefly that there's a little bit of crossover.
It
You did.
did say that some of the requirements were in there,
Yeah.
it did, that were.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
which more specifically, it is everything to complete the scout rank, at the troop level.
I'm glad.
I knew I
it's-
did because I said, but of course, they can only do those requirements for Scout rank after joining the troop.
Yeah, you did mention, it.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that it was actually like a whole
Yeah.
thing in the back.
So the intention is to hopefully simplify delivery. I think that the feedback was the previous requirements too complex, too many choices, too many if then or things. And trying to set it up so people can look at one resource and say, I need these supplies, I got a plan for this, and move forward with it. The other thing is the adventures are intended to be able to be completed, depending on the adventure, in 1 to 2 meetings, is kind of the intention of it, so.
So Bobcat has some at-home stuff, I noticed, and their family reverence is meant to be at home.
Yes.
So it seems like they were moving towards a lot more at-home adult, and I noticed when I was looking at some of the requirements, like some of it doesn't say den leader or Akela anymore, it just specifies your adult helper. I don't remember.
I think
where-
depending on the rank, that's probably accurate, yeah.
Well, it was in the Weeblos book.
Oh, okay.
I would guess, just based on like our PAC's recent attendance issues, is a lot of kids have a lot of things going on, and so they're not coming to the den meeting as often because they're in basketball and it happens to be on the night, the den's meeting.
Right.
And so maybe that is to kind of open it up so that parents know that it doesn't have to be at the PAC, because if you say adult helper, that can mean the parent, that can mean the den leader, that can mean the
Right.
headmaster.
Right,
And so maybe that's why they're changing the wording, it's not necessarily because they're trying to drive it to go home, but also so that parents feel more comfortable stepping up and doing that.
Yeah,
Because, any parent that comes in and says, oh, well, this says you have to do this with the kilo, well, who's that? Who's she? How do I know,
right.
And so maybe just saying you're adult helper means that the parents that are reading it at home can go, oh, wait, I'm an adult, I can help things.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I think it's just, like you're saying, a catch-all, so sometimes it's not the den leader running an activity, it's ex-adult who's here for that meeting.
Yeah, well, like
which-
you said, if something happens to
So-
fall through or whatever.
so
all of a
and
sudden
and again,
somebody's filling in.
the family and reverence required adventure is really designed to be completed in the family setting. I think the others, it's more of like, you can kind of accomplish it and whatever is gonna be the way your den and your pack is gonna do it, with the exception of some elements of the Bobcat that are also clearly sort of family topics. And I guess the same thing with the personal safety too, so.
With that, if it says adult helper, if you have a den chief that's a youth that's helping, is that cause sometimes our adult helper can't make the meetings and the den chief is the one that's kind of running it for that den. if it says adult helper, is that specifically, like, we need to make sure that there is an adult that's stepping in, or can the den chief still run?
No, I mean, I would say that's the judgment of the den leadership and the
Okay.
pack leadership. With some obvious exceptions, like there are some things that shouldn't be a 13-year-old, like when they're talking through the personal safety of the, the sexual abuse components of the protect yourself,
Right.
like obviously that would not be
I
Yeah,
just
but
wanna
yeah,
make sure that like
yeah.
that verbiage
That
wasn't
seems
going
like
to be
a-
something that
a good way to
creates
do
a
it.
barrier.
Yeah.